So I started the piano first, and my parents got me an electric keyboard when I was very young. Um, the story that my mom tells me goes that I told her the pitch of a vacuum cleaner, that it was a C sharp, and she went over to the piano and it was that note. So she went to the local music school and I started taking lessons from there. And I picked up violin shortly after and have been playing both of those until now in ensembles and solo performances, chamber music, opera. Yeah. I always loved the symphonic repertoire. I think that's the reason that I am pursuing this conducting. I remember in middle and high school, that's when I heard Beethoven and Brahms for the first time, and I remember just being entranced by that music and spending hours just on YouTube listening to performances. And so from that moment, I knew that I wanted to be around this music for a long time, and the conducting just seemed like a natural path. I also played trumpet in high school, so just the culmination of a lot of different instruments and paths. I like working with people, and I love the element of conducting that when you study scores, it's always changing, and that is that element of lots of people working together to create something great. So I'm performing the Dvorak Carnival Overture with the Festival Orchestra, and I picked this piece because I heard it at Tanglewood about 5 years ago. It was the last concert of the season, and I fell in love with it, particularly for the middle section. The Carnival Overture is this very boisterous, exuberant kind of party piece, and it has this beautiful, very intimate middle section with a beautiful flute and concertmaster solo. So I picked it for that section, but the whole piece is really just a lot of fun. And some of the specific challenges are that because it's such a victorious piece, it can be pretty vertical. As a pianist, I know all about vertical playing, and so we have to combat that and try extra hard to create long lines to see the beauty in the horizontal music. So that's something that I worked on in my score study, and just listening to a lot of recordings and thinking. The other part of this piece specifically is it's written for a big romantic orchestra, and what that means is that if you have 30 or 40 violins and the melody is in the three flutes, that we need to focus on the balance and figure out how can we make sure that the tune is always heard. I've always been interested in videos, so maybe when I was 10 or 11, I remember I played on piano the accompaniment part to one of the Suzuki Book 4 pieces, and then on a big camcorder at that time, uploaded to the computer, and then played violin along with that. And so we like to call that my clone. So I would make those videos, and I kept doing that. So when the pandemic started, I think I saw another person do something similar with a shorter piece, and I was working on the Tchaikovsky violin concerto at the time. I thought at the moment it was just crazy enough to work, and indeed it took probably hundreds of hours. I created the accompaniment track and then sent it out to my friends who were graciously willing to lend their time. They recorded their individual part listening to the track and then sent them in, and I compiled them, the audio, and then made a video out of it. I definitely want to do things like that again. And then the other part of the question was the pop-up concerts, and I'm still doing those. So I like to play for my parents' friends or my own friends, or go to retirement or senior centers and put on concerts. I always love talking before my concerts and explaining the piece, or saying a little bit about it or what to listen for, because as musicians, and I've learned this few weeks with the conductors, we feel so strongly for the music, and I think that's because we've had so much training and exposure to lessons and the history behind it, but for an audience, they don't always know that. So I think talking is important. So with these pop-up concerts, I've been able to educate people about what to listen for and hopefully make it a better experience. So this is definitely something that I want to keep doing. I want to make it my goal, if I'm sharing music, to also share beyond just the music and why it's important, why Beethoven and Mozart is relevant in this day. Because it is, and the things that we feel from that music will be relevant forever for anybody.